When a woman carries that beautifully and a man decides to be ridiculous, he is going out of his way to crush her spirit. He wants to. He is sadistic. He wants to make her feel like she's ugly. Because regular men, decent men, normal men, men that are not just violently abusive, even when a woman carries badly, horrifically, like when she becomes a whale, when she becomes a walrus, wadi chubaba, and her neck gets black, and she gets these thick ankles, and wada. He is decent to be supportive, and he is decent to shut up about the changing nature of the woman he once knew. And the woman he knows, right? The wife that he has. When he is harassing her with the fact that, yes, like it, look at you, now that you're pregnant. He's not a man. He is something else. Regular dudes, normal men, suck it up. They basically swallow their opinion concerning a woman that ought to be looking like a whale because they know that she's pregnant, and now's not the time to be making her feel any kind of strange way. I would imagine let me not say grand majority, let me rather say the common thing, or maybe it is a majority, but maybe not a grand one. The common thing is for men to be largely decent when women are pregnant, because they know that it's an anomaly, it's a season from spot A to spot Z. Let us be decent, cordial, and let us not add insult to injuries. So most normal men, common men, when they're dealing with a horrific pregnancy, and that a woman is out here manifesting all kinds of ugly in the middle of pregnancy, they tend to be mum, and they're still supportive, and they don't raise it. They don't raise it, because that's what's decent. But every so often there are men who are blessed with these quaint little, stock sweeting, and just this gorgeous chick that is just carrying so beautifully. And when you are dealing with a gorgeous chick carrying beautifully, where nothing of hers changes except the fact that there is a stock sweet in front of her, and you're still horrific, you are diabolical. You are diabolical. You are different from a lot of men. You are something of scum. And my dad was that. It needs to be comprehended that my father was the kind of man that every woman should avoid. There are extremes in this world of crazy men. Like, there are regular husbands that will forget your birthday. Like Bryce in the movie Temptation. He wasn't abusive, but he did an abominable thing. He should have put it in his diary. He was irresponsible. He dropped the ball, but he does not qualify as abusive or narcissistic or toxic. Just negligent, and do better. Do not ignore that I need that kind of attention. You can't just ignore, like, forget my birthday as your wife, for crying out loud. Like, how? Yeah. He is absent-minded, but he does not qualify. This dude who actually forgets your birthday 1 year, he does not qualify as just treacherously abusive. So they don't make them all equal. Amadota are not made equal, right? So there are men drop balls. Everybody drops balls. Everybody drops the ball in relationships. Everybody has their thing that they're supposed to be doing that they're not doing. Everybody, I'm sorry, I'm distracted, but I have got to multitask soon. Have mercy. Everybody has got their own thing that they're doing. And with them not being perfect human beings, essentially. Okay, I think this is the perfect parameter. Sorry, I'm looking at my silence detection and I don't want it cutting out my words, so that's what I was editing over there. But we're back now. Able to concentrate. Able to concentrate. Able to concentrate. Able to concentrate. Not really, because look at me singing. Yeah, there are men who out here will drop the ball or not buy flowers, like, because or a dry season of this flower buying, or him not be sufficiently romantic, like a dude that has to be inspired or motivated or spoken to time and time again. But why don't you buy me chocolates? Why don't you buy me flowers? If you date a guy like that, you're a girl, your issue. But you don't get to call him abusive. It's not abusive, it's just he's been built nasty. He's been built to be one of those everything is about me guys, and I don't really know how to be a boyfriend or a husband. I think that it's all about just making out a bunch, having sex, and hugging a lot and talking a lot on the phone. But I mean, go out of my way, extra mile, buy gifts, buy flowers, what's that? There are men like those, like, they're so freaking dry. They're just dry. They think that romance is just kissing and making out and having somebody with whom to share living quarters. They just don't see the difference. They don't see the need. Like, I had a friend that had a boyfriend like that. I thought he was such a but albeit me thinking that he was a he wasn't abusive. He wasn't abusive. All men are equal, but some men are created equal than others. There is a certain kind of excruciatingly abusive man that makes it his prerogative to put you down. No, he hasn't, by omission or neglect, forgotten to buy you flowers or remembered your birthday. That's jerky, but it's not abusive. He goes out of his way to make you feel that big. Guys, men like these, yes, like it. Ngifunwa yibo, and I can see why. Because my dad was one of those. My dad went and married a beautiful woman with barely any flaws on her and made it his prerogative and his determination to put her in a place. To put her in a place. You're pretty, but relax, chill, relax. I know that there are many men that want you. And at the time of me pursuing you, you were out here being vied for by 20 other guys in the same room I was at. So yeah, fine, you're pretty. But really, don't let that get over your head. A guy that out here is going to hand out compliments like he's rationing sweets to children. You only get to have one at dessert. You only get to have one twice a week because I don't want you getting obese, little Johnny. Or I don't want you getting cavities, little Johnny. So you don't get to have all the sweets. I'm only going to give you 5. When a man is rationing compliments, I go see danger like that warning on the fences when they've got a bulldog behind that fence. Men who out here be withholding compliments and handing them out like treats to a little dog because it jumped over a hoop. Guzo shuba in a marriage when you marry a dude like that. And the beautiful thing is that you can spot this inja from a mile away. The guy in the US meganjalo, he literally felt ingati. I need to come down. I need to simmer down. I need to simmer down me. I need to simmer down in my self-aggrandized and my self-elevated perception of my absolute glory. He made it seem like I'm on that tip all day, every day. He was projecting his own reception of me because he was this tiny inside. He was the size of a pinky finger on the inside, and so because he was short on the inside, he saw it fit me now to ration me compliments. I felt high and dry when I was with that guy, and I was only with him for 3 weeks. You would imagine that when you start a relationship, a person would put their best foot forward, right? This dude rationed compliments. He rationed validation. He would not tell me what I wanted to hear. And the sad thing about that with me is that my primary love language is words of affirmation. I cannot be with a narcissistic man that is crazy abusive, that doesn't want to validate me. I cannot be with a man that will not shower me with compliments. I cannot be with a man that will not speak sweet nothings to me. Literally, I need that because my love language, my primary love language is words of affirmation. I need to be told that I'm good. I told you earlier that the only reason why I came to even believe I was pretty as a child on the come up and as a teenage girl was because I was told by so many people when I was in puberty, when I was growing into my body, when I was becoming a swan from having been an ugly duckling. Now that I was getting noticed, so many people said it that I finally was like, oh, maybe I'm not so ugly. I thought I was ugly, but I am pretty. And I ran with it. I ran with it because people said it. So basically, if nobody ever told me that I was pretty, I would never have believed it, precisely because my primary love language has always been words of affirmation. Also, never mind prettiness, never mind prettiness. Let's talk about now intelligence. All right. In terms of my intelligence, I never used to think I was smart until in my early stages as a child in primary school. My teachers would always call my mom in because I was underperforming. And then the thing that they would say to my mom was, your daughter is exceptionally bright, but she's lazy. That was such a common theme in all the disciplinary hearings that I have endured at the hands of teachers throughout my primary school life, that I realized that I was smart because I grew up in a household where my older sister was a star from the very get-go. She was a high performer from the very get-go, and everybody paid attention to her. And so they ignored me. And because they ignored me, I figured, whatever, nothing matters. I'm just gonna do 1 + 1 = 2. But you see, that was the environment at home. At school, however, teachers noticed. You see, I can vouch for that. I've worked with kids before. You can pick up the difference between a child that's a bit slow to catch concepts versus one that's sharp on their feet. Whether or not you're doing sums or it's literary, like you're speaking language, vocabulary, and whatnot, you can tell the difference between a really smart kid and one that is either average or struggling. There was a time when I used to tutor for some program at my mom's company on the weekends. A school that was struggling type thing, and they needed like extra lessons on the weekend. I tutored math, grade 6 and 7 on the weekends, and you can immediately pick up, you can tell when kids are stars and when they are ahead of their grade. The way that they grasp concepts and how easy it is for them to how little repetition that they need when you instruct them. They basically just, their aptitude is high. You can pick it up in children, whether or not these kids have that awareness, whether or not these children know that they are special in comparison to everybody else. That's why it's important for teachers to be acute, aware of children in the room, to basically put their ear on the ground, because kids don't know who they are until they get told who they are, unless they're super special and they just have a self-awareness that doesn't quite frankly exist in most children. You kind of have to let them know. So a kid that's actually ignored at home can be discovered by a teacher. A kid that is ignored at home can be discovered by a teacher, and that's what happened with me. I was discovered by teachers. I was lazy. I did nothing. I did not invest in my education. I was just going through the motions like everybody else, drawing a circle, drawing a triangle, until enough teachers in my primary schools, all of them, like St. Matthew's and Mayfair Convent and Winchester Ridge Primary, my teachers were always extremely frustrated with me, enough to, because I wouldn't even do homework, like stuff like that. I was so lax when it came to schoolwork. I did not care. So my mom was always being called in, and on the rare events that she actually came through and spoke to teachers, and I was scared out of my mind, they would say the exact same thing. They would say, your daughter is extremely gifted. She is smart, but she's lazy. I took all that counsel, and when I got to grade 9 in particular, in high school, grade 8, I was still dragging my feet. When I got to grade 9, I was like, yes, and according to people, me, I'm smart. So let me test it. Let me see if I'm actually clever. Let me see if I studied, what would happen with me? How would I perform? How would I perform? And I dedicated my grade 9 year to actually really like putting my all into my studies, and I soared. I became a teacher's pet. I became a teacher's favorite. I became those kids that would annoy you go skolong. So because of that, I finally realized that I am smart. I'm smart. They were right. So basically, the rest is history. I found out I was smart because teachers noticed, and I decided to test it. I found out I was pretty because a whole bunch of people said it, and then I ran with it. A lot of things that I discover about myself, I have tended to discover them as a kid on the come up because people said it. People highlighted it. Similarly too, with my speaking ability. Okay, my cat keeps sneezing. With my speaking ability, my written ability and my speaking ability. My speaking ability alongside, hey, grandcat, just keep panda. My speaking ability and my writing ability, I thought nothing of it. I thought absolutely nothing of it all throughout high school, because I was in high school shortly after apartheid, ended, repealed and whatnot. Not shortly after, but basically black kids were still something that white teachers were growing into. They were getting accustomed to. So when it came to English, when it came, like for instance, all black kids in the very beginning of my primary school were made to attend some extra English classes, whether or not they were imagined that they could speak English after school. Not Mayfair Convent. We were made to attend some extra lessons after school by force, because we apparently, allegedly, were not quite on par with all the other kids, because their primary language at home of instruction, the primary language of communication, at home was English. The Indian kids, the colored kids, and the white kids were left, but all black kids, we were made to go through this mandatory class, literally because we were black. That was low-key racist, okay? Yeah. And then also, so basically when you were new in that school, and then also there was an issue with black kids if at all you came from a Kasi school, and they moved you to, if you came from a Kasi school and they moved you to an English school, like a suburban school, a Model C school, they would automatically take you down one grade. You would have to start basically in grade, for instance, I started at Mayfair Convent in grade, I was supposed to start in standard 1, that would be grade 3, and they took me to grade 2. They took me to grade 2. Thankfully, it was the same age group as everybody. So my grandmother and everybody took us to school 1 year early. So thankfully, I was 1 year ahead anyway. So I basically caught up with my peers, but I was supposed to matriculate at 17 instead of 18. If they didn't do that, yeah. The only reason they did that was because of the fact that I had come from a school in the Kasi, and so they insisted that I don't start in grade 3, but rather start in grade 2. And then go to the funny little class after school for black kids. Yeah, because of the way that we were thought of as black kids on the come up in the education system in this country within white schools, they tended to automatically have a bias upon receiving our papers, like our English papers, comprehension, literacy, poetry, you get my point, English at all, grammar. They automatically assumed, especially when it came to like writing essays and orals, like speeches. I don't know of a single black kid, unless they were already an academic in all other classes, that was able to soar in English. Like, it was just always such a striving to pass with exceptional grades in English from grade 8 to matric. It was such a striving, and I could not understand why is this easiest subject out of all of them such a striving to pass. And I only came to learn that it was a striving, not passing it was feasible, just not passing it with like 88%, 90%, 75%. Like, you'd be actually getting from a 55, 60. Like, why am I getting such low marks for this subject, and yet I'm killing it go science, I'm killing it go everywhere else? Yeah. And it was like that with all my girls. It was like that with the black kids, like all of us. We were just being marked so terribly. It was a bias. It just dwelled in our teachers. They believed that we are struggling to catch on. And you know, the weird thing about it is that everybody used to struggle with Afrikaans, unless their home language was Afrikaans. White kids that only spoke English at home struggled with Afrikaans. Black kids struggled with Afrikaans. Indian kids struggled with Afrikaans, and colored kids who did not speak Afrikaans naturally at home also struggled with Afrikaans. And yet sometimes we would do better in Afrikaans than we would do in English. And I believe the reason why that was the case was because it was generally accepted by the teachers in the schools that every group, every race of kid in the school struggles with Afrikaans unless their home language is Afrikaans. So they applied equity, if you want to call it that, in marking Afrikaans papers. So black kids did not do so terribly in Afrikaans, and yet we strangely I can't really say that we did terribly in English, but we did not do as well as we deserved in English. I bet you can relate if you're black, having come from, you know, that time. I was born in 1984. You do the mathematics, okay? You were always just struggling to get a decent mark for English. You were always struggling to get a decent mark, even though some terms you would get a much better mark for Afrikaans than for English, which was strange, because you would get a better mark for Afrikaans than for English, which was strange because Afrikaans it was a hit and miss, man. It was a trial by error. When you're asked to write a comprehension, a test, yeah, Afrikaans, it's like, did you be coming up with words at the top of your mind? Dus die tafel, ek sal nie laat weet wat gaan aan om te, yo. And then you have to write like a whole 1-page essay. And it's just rubbish. But your teacher would give you 60%. She would give you 50% because it's like sham. It's not their primary language. Afrikaans was such a striving. That's how it used to be. But with English, we were marked down so poorly. So poorly. To a point where orals, like Hebatung, I remember there was this one oral that I did. The teacher said that you can speak about anything you want to talk about, whatever topic. And it was my turn. I went up and I spoke about fashion. I did a very inspiring speech about textiles, and my classmates came to me, even like the smartest guy in the whole school. I was in a boffin class, let's just put that out there. He was like, yo, Karabo, your speech, like an Indian dude. He was like, yo, Karabo, your speech was so cool. Was such a cool speech. I was like, thank you. My results come after 2 weeks, and I got like 61%. I was expecting to do so well. And also, in that oral, I used the word aura in my speech. The word aura, right? And after speaking the speech, after my speech was done, when I was done, the teacher cynically asked me, this one Indian teacher, she cynically asked me, what does aura mean? Give me the definition of aura. It's almost as if though she was rolling her eyes the entire time when I was doing that speech, because as a black girl, I'm just out here experimenting with words I don't even understand. I went on right ahead to explain to her what aura is, the general energy, the air that encircles a person. And she was like, okay. And she still gave me 61%. It was so condescending what she did. I was sad, but I was a kid at the time, and I imagined that teachers are always right. So I didn't argue with it. I didn't fight it. I did not contest it. And this would be an issue all the way up until matric. And then I started, so basically I did not have much faith in my written skills, because I could never break past 65% in English. I literally could never break past 65% on anything or English. I couldn't. I was just always hovering in the 50 to 65% percentile. And this would happen all the way up until matric. Still to this day, if you were to look at my matric certificate, my English higher grade, 60 something percent. I could never break past that mark, no matter how well written my speech was. But then again, I didn't know that it was well written. And then I get to university. So because I did not believe in my speaking ability or my written ability, seeing as I'm that 61%, I'm basically just crazy average. I'm chilling slap bang in the center of the normal distribution. That's what this teacher was telling me. I'm average. And I was told all my life that I'm average. Don't quit your day job to become a motivational speaker. That's what that teacher was telling me. Those teachers, but the Indian teacher in grade 10 was especially harsh. Okay, yeah, anyway, whatever. I then get to varsity first year, and I write my first essay. My first essay was written for Psych 1, and I remember that the lecturer told us that we could write it freehand. We could write it with a pen. All scripts in varsity, you have to type your essays, right? That was back in the day when people were still writing things, and computers were not so prevalent all over schools and whatnot. So seeing as they knew that we came from a time, high school, where everything was just written down, barely typed, we did not have an ICT school like what it is that's going on in these days, in these 2025 streets, where there's computers everywhere, kids go to school with laptops or iPads and whatnot. Back then it was pen and paper, baby, eraser, like rubber, Tipex. Yeah, that was then. And even then Tipex was disallowed at my school. Kubins and bananas. So in first year varsity, they knew what we came from. So our first essay, go Wits, my first essay, Yako Psych 1 Wits, was what do you call this? They told us that we could either type it if we wanna, but going forward we're gonna have to type. But in this particular instance, since we're fresh out of high school, we can handwrite it. Okay, so I chose to handwrite mine because I did not have a reliable computer at home, and I didn't want to stay in the computer labs at school. So I handwrote my essay based on all the instruction that they gave us. This is how you write an essay, this kind of referencing style, what fish base, etc. Yeah, cool. And they were also not too pedantic about referencing. They were just training us, starting us out basically on how to write an academic paper. And we had a topic, I chose one, and I wrote my essay. I submitted it, I believe, no, it wasn't submitted a day late. This first ever essay that I've ever written was not submitted a day late. When you submit stuff a day late at WITS, well, at that time, you get minus 5%, and 2 days late, minus 10%, and beyond 2 days, you just fail altogether. You can't bring it in after 2 days. Okay, cool beans and bananas, very well. I write this handwritten essay, and I hand it in, and I'm expecting to get just like what my Mrs. Naidu from English grade 10 said, average. I expected that my results were gonna come back like 55%, 60 or whatever. Yo, dudes. When I collect my script, go the office where students collect their scripts, there is this big, fat, chunky, and exceptionally well written essay. Like, she literally, like, I will never forget that day, like, verbatim. She had written on the top of my script in that red bold pen, an exceptionally well written essay. 95%. 95%. My first ever essay at Wits University, I got 95. I had never gotten that kind of mark for English. The highest mark I've ever gotten on any subject was 100%. There was a science test, chemistry, that I got 100% for. In grade 10. Yeah, but I never really saw 100% again after that. Give or take, I meandered. Yeah, no, because when you get to higher grades, 100% becomes a little bit of suga. No, actually, I came real close. Go Wits. My first, I came close. My first test, yeah, comp maths, Wits, I got 98% or something. Yeah, okay, I came close. Somewhere in the future, but 100% has been rough to achieve these days. Maybe that's why people are hurting me. Anyway, whatever, because unreasonable. Whatever, cool beans and bananas. So that was the highest mark that I have gotten, and like just like on an essay. Like, now what? Like 95, yo. When I saw that, I was like, yo, initially, my first response was she was drunk, or not drunk per se, but she's not serious, sure. I would then go on right ahead to write more essays, and of course the next ones I would type them, and I just kept getting these high marks. So much so that I started to trust that I am going to get a ridiculously lofty mark for my essay, that I would start submitting my essays a day late, 2 days late, telling myself, I mean, what's 95 minus 5? It's 90, so I can take that. What's, you get cocky. Yeah, I got cocky. And one essay, indeed, I delivered it a day late, and I came out with 85% because I had gotten 90% overall. 90 minus 5%. Yeah, I started to get cocky enough to submit my essays or my assignments one day late, and I noticed this trend not just in psych but all the other subjects that I did, even though some of them I dropped them. I took up political science. I don't even know why I did that. I used to hate it, and I was never even sure about what I was writing, because my research was just so all over the place, and yet I would come out with 80, 75, 83, 84, and I was like, hey Batong, people seem to think I'm a good writer. And this is university, and the lecturers here, the educators in this environment have some kind of a lack of bias because they deal with so many students. They have so many students, and they don't know them all the way that your teachers in school can know you intimately when you were in high school. And so they don't have biases. They just mark you based on literally what their opinion is. And so whether your surname is Chabalala or Hlongwane or Mazibugo or Thomas, it's irrelevant. They just blindly mark the script, not knowing who the student is. And only as the years progresses, they start to know who the students are, because teachers tend to favor kids who do really well. So they will then know you. They will know that, like, Karabo, oh, okay, so this is you. I can put a face to the particular student type establishment thing. But in the beginning, they just blindly marking, and the blindness of their grading confirmed to me that I was good at writing, at least writing. It confirmed to me that I was good at least at writing. And as the years would progress, I would then get, like, for instance, there was this one interview that I went to for Nedbank in order to go and become, I was interviewing for a job as a training center administrator. And the lady stopped me midway in the middle of the interview, was like, I'm sorry, you're too eloquent, you're too well spoken, we can't hire you as a training. We can if you want the job, it's yours, but how would you like to rather be a trainer? Because the way that you articulate yourself, the way that you conduct a room, the way that you capture people with your words, it's just astronomical. So I would adore for you, if you don't mind, to interview rather as a trainer. How do you feel? And that's how I basically got bumped up a huge promotion, a job that I was supposed to take years to get if I was going to make that my professional track. So that's when I became a trainer, a facilitator at Nedbank. Work go Hatfield in Pretoria, and it was at that juncture that I then started to believe that I'm an orator, I can speak. Yeah, it was that opportunity awarded me at Nedbank that then made me realize that I can speak, and that literally once I go interview, I don't go back, and that I'm actually really good at conducting a room, keeping a room, speaking to people, keeping them engaged. I have a way with words. And when then I happened upon the discovery that I have a way with words, both orally alongside written, I stuck with it, I ran with it. So basically, once I got to any place of conviction, of any skill, any talent, any gift that I've got, I ran with it. I never ever turned back. I came to discover in first year varsity that my English teachers in high school were biased against black kids. Hence, they kept on marking us down. So I should have gotten far better results in English than what I did get, because how in the world am I doing so much better in essays, in basically that which requires my literary skills? How am I doing so much better at a higher learning institution, a university, better than high school? Like, that means that something was wrong in high school, something was broken, and the thing that was broken in high school was the way that they were dealing with black kids. they were still very biased. They were still looking at us like we are struggling. And so they marked us down to a point where we even did better in Afrikaans than in English. Like literally that was still happening when my sister was in the very beginning of her studies, like when she was in primary school. She used to do better in Afrikaans than in English. And I think that was basically, the system was still weaning itself off. I don't know if it's still like that today, but my younger sister is younger than me by 17 years. It was already so very many years down the line, and yet my younger sister was still out killing Afrikaans better than English. And it's weird for a black kid that comes from, you know, like largely we speak more English than we speak Afrikaans, and yet we used to do better in Afrikaans than in English. It was weird. Anyway, whatever. You get my point. But that whole thing that I spoke, because I can be loquacious, I'm long-winding, but I hope you like my stories. If you don't, whatever, gouge out the eye. Okay, yeah, I'm trying to help you understand that which built my suite of understandings as to who I am and what I can do was established by words of affirmation. I was validated. But absent of the validation, I literally would have stayed in the dark concerning certain talents that I had. So for instance, if I never ever went to a higher learning institution, if I didn't study further, I never would have known that I can write. I maybe might have found out somewhere along the way that I can speak, but I certainly would never have known that I'm so excellent at writing that I can basically tutor, I can train. It got so good, my writing, that I started getting asked to edit stuff by various students and my friends. And like this one chick used to always come to me about like because she was also trying to use and abuse me. So at some point I had to like cut her off, type establishment thing. But yeah, I was known for basically pulling in favors in terms of written work for a whole bunch of people. Even one of my ex-bosses asked me to write a letter for her that she wanted to send to Radio 702 for her son, because her son was sick with some kind of cancer and she wanted to win a competition at 702, and they had some wish, can you win a wish competition at 702, and people had to write in what they were wishing for, and this woman wanted her child to be basically homeschooled using technology. And that was before it was as easy as it is today with COVID-19 having done that to the world. Back then it was really quite onerous to get that done, to connect basically a teacher remotely into somebody sitting at home. Because the kid was sick, the mom wanted to do that, and she asked me to write that letter for her because she trusted me to be compelling enough to Radio 702 for her to win the competition. I don't know if she won that competition or what, because before the results could come in, I quit the job. I left. I only stayed there for 6 months, and it was towards the end of my stay in that company. I was there for like maybe the last 3 weeks, then I left. So I don't know if she won or what, but she certainly trusted me enough because she had interviewed me and we had exchanged emails, and she was like, Karabo, please write this for me because you're really good at writing. So that was validation from my former boss. That was what happened at the call center where I used to work. Validation from this university, lecturers marking me a particular way, told me that I could write. And then validation about speaking. One of my former bosses, before I could work a certain job, she rather recommended I work another job. And then it just kept going. And then people asking me for favors, what a fish paste, etc. So long story short, I know that I can speak and I know that I can write because people said so. And so now I do it with confidence. Y'all need to understand a woman like that. I mean, literally, I can be long-winding, I get it, but I'm getting to a point, right? I'm building an argument here. A woman like that, a person like that, be it woman or man, you cannot throw them in an environment where somebody is out here rationing compliments, rationing validation, like the way that you would ration sweets to a child. Like, you only get one a week because, Johnny, I don't want your teeth to get cavities. Whatever the proverbial cavity in this particular instance might be. It is what? My ego? It is what? You not trying to toot my horn? It is what? You trying to put me in my place? I apologize, you are a narcissist. You are ridiculous. And there are women that can take that level of crazy, that's striving in a relationship, maybe because they have got another love language that is primary to them. Maybe they like physical touch or whatever. I like that book, The 5 Love Languages. I don't think there's anything to it that is new agey or occulty or whatever. I do believe that it is just, it explains basic human behavior. You know, when it comes to books that are very psychological in their nuances, throw out the bathwater, keep the baby. I have that mindset, and I've spoken about that before, so let's move on. So maybe other women liked gifts, right? Like that is their primary love language. And so because this dude is out here perpetually just buying them shoes, they don't notice that they're dealing with like a ridiculous abuser. But nah, it is so quick, it's so easy for me to pick up abusers from verbal cues. It's easy because the gift of the gab is my primary gift, so it makes sense that the gab in other people is what I respond to. Like auditory stimuli is what under heaven that jives me. It moves me. It makes sense why I'm born again, right? Because faith comes by hearing and hearing by the word of God. Amen. Yeah, I actually gave my life to Christ because somebody spoke it. Yeah, I have a thing about hearing stuff. Yeah, cool. So, seeing as I love to hear all things mellifluous, sweet, sonorous, and wonderful, and I can jive with that, how much worse then will I unjive? The very antithetical opposite extreme of jiving, when it is horrible words, when it is crazy withholdings, when an individual, like the guy in America, he would throw me with several dollars and yet be mum concerning, what kind of a person do you think I'm great? Do you love me? Do you think I'm pretty? Do you think I am... You get my point. Whatever it is that might be something that affirms me, validates me, he just would not part ways with it. He wouldn't part ways with it. And then my ex of 5 years, I didn't feel loved by him that much, which is why today I am as puzzled, shocked, and out of my mind, whacked on the side of the head like as with a pan. All right, etchisang like with oil, leaving like a whole like 3rd-degree burn on my face. Yeah, by how today, all these like 13 years down the line, he is still literally trying to slide into my DMs through satanic magic. I can't believe it, because he also was mum on his view of my overall glory, right? I never felt loved by him, and I never felt pampered by him, even though he was full of gift giving. It was not my primary love language, and he did not quite know that, right? My ex-boyfriends, the ones before him, the reason why they were able to wrap me around their finger, did you have to let it linger? Did you have to let it linger? You know I'm such a fool for you. You got me wrapped around your finger. Did you have to let it linger? Did you have to let it linger? I need to breathe. Yeah, anyway, I'm sorry, that song just came to me. Okay, yeah, no, a lot of my exes, especially before I became very mature, just wrapped me around their finger despite their indiscretions, despite, like, my ex-boyfriend, the one that I was with for 5 years, was by far the most stable boyfriend I ever had. By far the most reliable, by far the one that I trusted the most, to not do strange things, to not philander, do whatever. By far, it was the most stable relationship that I had ever been in. Hence, it lasted the longest, okay? Yet, the way I was so lalad with, played around like ping pong, ping pong, ping pong, ping pong, ping pong, pong by my exes, compared to him, is out of this world. Hence why my ex-boyfriend had to invest in so much witchcraft. Like I keep saying that he is the only guy that in the relationship was manipulating me with spirits. Everybody else didn't need to. There was there's no boyfriend that I had ever been with that in the middle of the relationship harassed me with witchcraft. It was only after we broke up that they tried to hook me with the bring back lost lover, don't ever get married, whatever. But this one literally was busy with me while we were together. And the reason why this was the case was because this dude was butterfingers where I was concerned. He was perpetually on shaky grounds, because the Bible says of a woman to Adam, to a man, men, husbands, love your wives. Because love is so important to women. We needed to feel cherished. We needed to feel adored. It is huge. It's mammoth. It's bigger than respect to us. We cherish it and value it above all else. And if a woman feels loved, you'll have her wrapped around your finger. You'll make the poor thing linger. She will have to just linger. She will have to linger. She'll linger, even if she wants to get out. Even if she wants to get out, if you know how to hook her with the phantom, the fantasy that you love her. If you know how to hook her with the phantom or the fantasy that you love her. So there are certain acts that evidence that a man doesn't love a woman, but there are certain ways in which a woman perceives love. And like I said, I really like that word 5 love languages. If a woman perceives love through words of affirmation, Hashem, even though you are doing very unloving things and you are narcissistic, the moment you are like, but baby, you're so amazing, you're the best thing that I've ever dealt with, there's no one that compares to you. You know you my ride or die. You know you my rock. You know you my this. You're so beautiful. Don't nobody compare. Baby, 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 baby. Oh, if this person starts breaking out into a Justin Bieber, you know I'm such a fool for you. You have me wrapped around your finger. Did you have to let it linger? Did you have to? Did you have to? Did you have to let it
With tears in her eyes and an exquisite apprehension, she'll put her suitcases down and stay. She will stay in a toxic relationship that makes no sense because this person Aja appealed to her love language. But of course there is a threshold. There is a place where a woman, there's nothing you can do to reel her back in. But if you basically prosper to make her feel loved, nothing else matters to a woman but that. There is nothing that matters. There's nothing of grander importance. There is nothing more paramount to a woman than feeling loved. Nothing more paramount. Everything else is always secondary. Everything else is always substandard to love. So therefore, the opposite is also necessarily true. You know I'm not a fool, you do. You can't never wrap me around your finger. Cause you don't love me and I don't care to linger. You can't hope me, you can't have me, you can't keep me, I ain't linger. I felt limo this time around. If she feels unappreciated and unwanted and uncherished, she will always be Butterfingers. She will always be like what is this? She will always make the man with Butterfingers. Slippery, grease man. She will always be like Grease Man in Ocean's 13, Ocean's 11, and Ocean's 12. Somebody that just can go through small little holes. That even though umubambile, nkunzi, ubasebams, regular, dirasa, regular machine. I'm sorry, I just had to break out into that. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, no, this woman, if she does not feel loved, the person in question is going to be dealing, he is going to be dealing with a Punyuga Bampeta woman, like she's unkeepable, ungraspable. But if this dude is violently in love with her, he will then basically become kind of psychopathic murderous. He will become, homicidal. He'll become abused. He'll become the stuff of murder, suicide. You're not going out of here unless it's in a casket. You know, freaky kind of sociopathic. It's giving eerie. It's a warding Ted Bundy. Yeah, type establishment thing. The kind of guy that GBVs a woman because she wants to go. Yeah, slippery fingers. But why does she leave? A woman tends to leave because there is no love. Like, that's literally largely the biggest reason, the be all and end all reason why a woman would leave a relationship is because she is feeling unloved. So if a dude out here walks in ways so as to give even the optical illusion of love, like you could be a total jerk, but you give the optical illusion of love by honing in on her love language, you could keep her lingering for slightly longer than it would take for her to finally pop, burst, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Basically keep her sticking around for so long that by the time she wakes up, she's really mad and now the one who's killing is her, right? So I'm not out here pontificating dudes use psychological methods to keep a woman lingering because you're gonna end up like Flaba Baga. You're gonna go in the ground. Because a woman that keeps on being yo-yoed without there being the comprehensive awarding of love, but rather the manipulation with love, it's just a ticking time bomb. She's a powder cake. She's gonna kill a man because of frustration in all these other areas. They are going to ultimately fester and create such a petri dish of violence that when she pops, the dude is out like a line. Hence that show on TLC, Snapped. Women who kill. Yeah, women snap because they keep on getting reeled back in with love gestures.
without the guy pulling his weight until she gets so fed up that she shoots him because she's frustrated that she can't leave. That's actually how women end up killing men. Men kill women because they're frustrated that they're leaving, whereas women kill men because they're frustrated that they can't leave him and he won't stop hurting her. So the best way is to eradicate him by neutralizing him. That's literally how it works. Like, y'all know that. Like, come on, you gotta agree with me. Crimes of passion are two-pronged. Men kill women because they're trying to go somewhere. They're trying to leave. They're trying to escape. So they want to hold on to them. But women kill men because they can't get out. Because they can't let go. Because they want to, but the men keep breaking them so much that their frustration with them being unable to let them go makes them kill them. So, my daughter, you can manipulate this particular theory that I'm out here formulating. Yeah, you can try and use that, but understand that you must write your last will and testament right in that relationship, because the woman is gonna pop a fast one in your gut, okay? Yeah, from being frustrated from not being able to leave. This strategy of y'all bringing women back home by giving them exactly what they want, but not pulling your weight and all the other things they cried about. It's a mortuary waiting to happen. I'm just saying. And the person that's gonna be lying there, is the man. Yeah, that's gonna be you. Anyway, do you if you want to be that cadaver. And this woman will then sing Cell Block Tango, feeling like you had it coming. If you know what I'm saying. Anyway, whatever. Cool beans and bananas. So now that we have spoken that, Karabo, I am grateful to God that I guess my ex-boyfriend did not, for the life of him, get that right. That's the only thing that rescued me from that guy. I promise you right now. My ex was mum. All the other exes of mine, even though they were substandard in comparison to my ex in terms of the delivery of basically pitching, coming forward, arriving, delivering in the relationship, even though they fell short significantly in comparison to him. Literally, he was by far the best boyfriend I ever had, but he was also by far the one under whom I felt least loved, the one by whom I felt least wanted, because he just did not get the whole words of affirmation thing down. He didn't. My exes, Hashem, butter tongue, yo, that's like it, smooth, yes, my ex-boyfriends used to shower me with compliments, yes, whole night when we're together, whole day when we're hanging out. Yo, baby, you're so pretty, you're so beautiful, oh my goodness, you're so gorgeous. Yes, like I would melt. I'm dealing with a player. I do that every so often, albeit telling me that he thinks I'm so beautiful. He will then throw me the little stunt work of black and yellow black. My ex-boyfriend used to say black and yellow black. I'm just anyway. But after I get that irritated, he would reel me back and wrapped around his thing. He used to compliment everything, my sense of style. Oh, you look so good. I love your sneakers. Look at how those jeans sit on you. Oh my god. Yo, I was like, girl, I am so surprised to see the young fine woman that you grew up to be. Your body's banging like a 400 whatever degrees, even your attitude. They were giving music soul child, like through and through, except the last guy that I was in a relationship with, or at least any reasonable relationship. Yeah, proper. Everybody else, nebang botora, they used to butter me up, yo. And so I would out here be like that. That's the only reason why I lasted almost 2 years with this one other cheetah, like he's running in the wilderness with spots guy. You, this dude, oh, this guy used to cheat. Yo, it's like it. He used to cheat. He was so bad for me. He was horrific. He was everywhere. And I knew Gutila one day Z3 easy. Nakona, I was not even prepared to go out like that without protection, because nearly all over there was nothing that I could do. Kodwa, botoro, butter, you, honey. Yeah, he was so good with how he spoke with me. He had these words of affirmation the whole time when we were together, from the moment we hooked up until he says goodbye, go take scene and closes the door. I felt like yo lomutyang tand, and he was willing to part ways with all of those Smarties and Astros and Skittles and jelly babies and sour worms, because he was not out here imaginative that I'm gonna get cavities from all those sweets. I loved it. and I stayed with Cheetah for almost 2 years. And the relationship didn't even end because I dumped him. It ended because he got intimidated that I was moving to university. So, I mean, really and truly, if a woman can be kept in a relationship, even with Injayana Yokohobola, Monawa Hogi Bobby Wena, Monawa Hogi Jogo Jogo. Even when you're dealing with Bobby Jogo Jogo, if Lo Bobby pins down your love language, Shem, Okadu love 5 years, le Bobby Wena, Monawa Hogi Jogo Jogo. For 20 years, Ungetse Bobby, and you just keep reverting like a bra strap. Just keep reverting. Cry HIV anyway, whatever, but you get my point. Yeah, my ex-boyfriend did not get that right. He did not get that right. And I was there with him for 5 years because because I was on my way out. All the other exes, they'd be like, oh my goodness, you're so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, type establishment thing made me feel all warm inside. If anything, there's a guy that almost took me from my ex because one time when I was standing with him and I felt like he's just staring into the sunset. He was like, my gosh, you're so beautiful. Hey, my heart. I got a flood of feelings in my heart, in my stomach, because he said I was beautiful. The sky, the horizon. I was just looking into the sunset, thinking about nothing much, and this dude staring at me. He was like, my gosh, you're beautiful. I was like, thank you. I gave him a chance. One time during a breakup with my ex-boyfriend, I gave him a chance because this dude, Skittles, Smarties, chocolate, Aero, tiny bubbles, Aero, so divine, Aero, make me happy, Aero, make me glad all over, Aero. Cause this dude was actually giving me bubbles in my stomach, butterflies, just by simply throwing me so much validation that I got feelings. It was my love language. My ex-boyfriend had a rough time. He had a rough time with words of affirmation. And I don't know if that was his own love language or what. Gifts. He was big on gifts. He was the first guy that I ever dated that basically showered me with gifts. But it was never enough. Even though it was unique, it was rare, it was different from every other one of these random El Cheapos that can't even buy a sister some flowers. It was different and I appreciated it.